What I want you to know is that you're not broken. You're just approaching life in the wrong way. You're approaching life from the outside in. There's something in you that has never been sick, never been afraid, never been broken. I see people that literally just struggle and struggle and struggle. I have this disease. I have an empty bank account. I have a lonely life. You're trying to fix and heal something or cure something or change something from the outside in. But the way to actually start working from the inside out is once per day for 3 minutes. Simply repeat to yourself, I am open to being loved by something greater than my fear. Now we're shutting out the analytical mind, the past history, the 3D world, and we're connecting. When we sit in that space of quietness and just hold very gently that thought that I gave you, healing, it's a peace that comes to you when you stop identifying with what's wrong with you and wrong with your life. Every breath you're taking is soulfulness and consciousness carrying you. And it's waiting for you to stop shutting the door and for you to start opening your consciousness. You're listening to the Transform Your Life from the Inside Out podcast. This episode is titled How to Cure Your Money, Health, and Life Challenges. As you know, the podcast is titled Transform Your Life from the Inside Out. And what I find is that most people listen and they try to absorb the content analytically and they understand it intellectually. But then what they do is when they stop listening to the podcast and without awareness, they go right back into their old habits again of living from the outside in. And many people keep repeating their same old patterns, over and over and over. And many people have heard before will say things like, I'm broken. I just doesn't work for me, etc. Well, what I want you to know is that you're not broken. You're just approaching life in the wrong way. You're approaching life from the outside in, and we're going to start turning that around in this episode. Okay, so approaching life from the inside out. This episode was inspired by a client many years ago, literally 20 years ago. His name was Kevin. And this is back when I worked as a hypnotist full-time 25 years ago. I'm just trying to think of the years. It was like the year 2000. And he was talking about his drinking and his addiction to alcohol. And he said, even though I don't want to, I keep drinking every single night. And he said, if I don't drink for one day, then I've got a little bit of a hold and I can create a couple of days streak where I don't drink anymore. But that's not what this episode is about. What he said was, quote, I must be damaged goods. I may be broken. And I see this when it comes to our health, our money, our relationships. I see people that literally just struggle and struggle and struggle. And they have the desire to have a better life, but they keep struggling, and maybe you can relate to that. I see many people, as I did for many years, struggle with money, despite all the money books that I'd read, money programs that I attended, etc. I still struggled with money, and I did for probably about 35 years. Now, what I'm talking about is that many times we might not even use the word broken, but we feel like there's something inadequate about us. Maybe we cannot sustain a relationship and we say there's something inadequate about me. It could be loneliness, whatever it might be, money, health, again, all life categories. Last week inside TCP, the Transformational Coaching Program, where as you may or may not know, we're doing our final program. We're on cohort number 19. After that, no more TCP. But someone was asking for coaching. And she said, quote, I have rheumatoid arthritis. Now notice what she said. She said, I have rheumatoid arthritis. Well, I corrected her in that moment. And I don't mean corrected her like scolded her. I redirected her. And she doesn't have rheumatoid arthritis. Her body might have it, but it doesn't mean that she has it, because we are not our body. And when we say things like, I have a cold, I have whatever ailment it might be, I have arthritis, I have a slipped disc, whatever it is, in that moment, we are working from the outside in, and we're working from misidentification, because we are identifying as the body and we're identifying as the body being the totality of us, and it's not. The body is simply the container that we travel in. Now, remember a couple of weeks ago on the podcast, I said everything is first invisible before it is visible. Etch that into your mind. Everything is first invisible before it's visible. So, what we try to do, the person that said they had rheumatoid arthritis, they try to tackle it from the visible as opposed to first working from the invisible, which is the mind. Now, what is happening in your body and your 3D life is one thing, as I just alluded to. It is visible. But what is happening in your body is separate from you, meaning the identity of you, a soulful being. But what we do in our mind is we make the invisible and visible both one, meaning we think what we can see is that's who we are, that's what we are. And then we actually merge that into, okay, I can think about this and I can plan and speculate and everything else. But notice all the thinking is not visible, it is invisible. That is working from the inside out. So when we think we are our bodies, we're not. What we do when we think from the body is we stay trapped in all the limitations of the body. Now, question for you. When you say, this is my life, now think about that. When you say, this is my life, my questions for you are this: who is my and what is the life? Ponder that. Who is my and what is the life? Are you the owner of life, or are you life experiencing a temporary human form? Are you the owner of life, or are you life experiencing itself as a temporary human form and identity? When that lands, that you literally are not the totality of life, you are a temporary human container experiencing life, we recognize that life and consciousness is greater than the human experiencing life. We have to recognize, to keep this very grounded and very practical, what's happening to the body, your finances, your relationships. In the 3D world, these things are very real. There's something in you that has never been sick, never been afraid, never been broken, never been lonely, and never been touched by any kind of illness. See, that part of you that has never been sick, never been afraid, never been broke, never been lonely, and never been touched or experienced any illness, that part of you, that's your soul. And that part is as whole and complete right now as it has ever been in your, meaning your soulful existence. So the question is, where are you thinking from? Are you thinking from the body, or are you thinking from soul? Let me explain that a little further. If you say, for example, I have arthritis, whatever it is, okay? You can pick whatever ailment you might have had. I have a cold. I have the flu. I have this disease, this ailment, whatever it is. I have an empty bank account. I have a lonely life, whatever it is. In that moment, you are thinking from the external world and the body. But remember what I just said. Your soul has never been any of those things. And this is why I started saying about a year and a half ago, we have to know ourselves as soul. This is why I did an episode maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago on you are the ultimate and infinite power in the universe. When you think from soul and recognize, meaning when I say think from, you first identify as soul having a human experience, then you're working from the inside out. But if you're thinking from the body, my body has this ailment. My body is breaking down. My knees hurt. No, the body is experiencing that, but you as the soul are not. But notice what you're doing. You're trying to fix and heal something or cure something or change something from the outside. outside in. And the cure is reversing. We have to actually stop working from the outside and we have to start opening and operating and functioning from the soul level, from our divine consciousness. I've been here before, so I recognize what many of us do. And I've been here not so much in relationships, but I have been with money and health and wellness in the past, several years ago. But what most of us do is we fight our pain, our ailment, our disease. And then what we do is we say, okay, we identify the soul as the body. I am sick. And then what many of us do is say, I am sick. I don't feel good. Okay, I have to heal. So then what we do is whatever we have to heal, we fight it, we argue, we push away, we analyze it. But again, those are all external things. And recognize this: healing and money and companionship doesn't come from fighting and analyzing. Healing and money and companionship, they come from opening to the divine consciousness within us. It's kind of like when it rains. When it rains and the rain falls on the ground, you don't have to force the rain into the ground. It's simply, it soaks into the ground. All that we have to do is we have to stop blocking it. And when we go into the analysis, I got to fix, I got to fix, I got to fix, I got to fix, I got to fix. Something's wrong. I have this ailment. I have that ailment. I have no money. In that moment, we're forcing. And it doesn't work that way. We're working from the outside in. So I'm going to give you a little protocol, a little practice. I learned this quite some time ago from a shaman that I work with. And he gave it to me in a different way, but I want to give it to you in a really simple way right now. But the way to actually start working from the inside out is once per day for 3 minutes. That's it. For 3 minutes in the morning, preferably first thing when you get up, sit quietly, close your eyes, and breathe. And then simply repeat to yourself, I am open to being loved by something greater than my fear. Now, I chose the word fear to share that with you guys because when you're in bad health, you get into fear about, oh my God, what if I don't heal? When you're lonely, you get into fear of, oh my God, what if I'm alone? I can't find anybody. When you have money challenges, you get into fear. Oh my God, what happens if I can't pay my bills? But what happens when we open to something greater than the fear? So when we actually sit, and we don't have to, please do not do an incantation. Do not, like the water dropping on the ground, try to force it in the ground. Simply sit with this one sentence. And the sentence is, I am open to being loved by something greater than my fear. And that's it. That's it. Just let it soak in. Because when we get in that quietness, now we're shutting out the analytical mind, the past history, the 3D world, and we're connecting. Let me share a little different perspective on this to drive it home a little deeper. Okay, I've said this probably a dozen times on the podcast. When you cut your finger, let's say you're in the kitchen prepping dinner and you cut your finger, and it's just a mild cut, but you need a Band-Aid. So you're not, dropping and dripping blood all over the kitchen counter and your dinner. So you put a Band-Aid on. Notice the silence that happens when you put the Band-Aid on. Now, what I mean by silence is what you are not going into is the noise of, oh my God, I cut my finger. It's just a little cut. I hope I heal. I hope I heal. I don't know. Maybe I can heal. I hope. No. You go into the silence of not even paying attention to it. You don't even talk about it. You don't dwell on it. You don't harp on it. That in itself is silence. When we go into the silence, in that space is where we can hear divinity. It's where we connect with universal mind, divine mind, God, the quantum field, whatever you want to call it. In that space, as they say in Zen, The music is made in the space between the notes. When we go into that space, we are in the space between the notes. The notes are what make noise. The notes are your chatter inside. Oh my God, I hope I heal. I'm broke. I'm broke. I'm broke. I don't want to be lonely. All we're doing is then in that moment, looking at the outside and then working from the outside in. Some of you guys that are more wired towards practicality, and I have been there before, you are going to want to spruce this up. You're going to want to make it better. You're going to want to do more. Many of you are probably even saying, come on, Jim, are you kidding me? That's it? Seriously? There's got to be more to it than that. There's not. There's not more than that. Because when we sit in that space, and the universe doesn't understand time, it doesn't know time. Time is a human construct. When we sit in that space of quietness and just hold very gently that thought that I gave you, I am open to being loved by something greater than fear. When we hold that very gently without having to, you're not doing an affirmation like over and over and over. You simply just hold the feeling and the knowing of that. That is it. That's where the silence happens. Now, in that moment, you are in direct communion and communication with divine mind and divine source. Now, if you're working from a 3D, you could say, I doubt that, Jim. I doubt that's going to work. And that's okay. That's allowed. You don't have to believe this works. Your skepticism is just fine. The only requirement is the 3 minutes of willingness and openness. That's it. I recently had a student that I taught this to inside TCP, and they said, I'm shocked. I'm on day number 10 of doing this. I'm shocked at what's coming to me. Now, notice what you might have said right then and there to yourself. You might have said, okay, I'm going to do it. What's going to come to me? What is going to change as a result of me doing this? What can I, oh boy, what can I get? What can I get? That's already the wrong approach because you're already placing 3D conditions on divine mind and source. Simply do it. No agenda, no expectations. Simply connect. Now, I mentioned healing and curing earlier. They're two very different things. Curing is physical. It's from the external world. But healing is something entirely different. Healing, it's a peace that comes to you when you stop identifying with what's wrong with you and wrong with your life, and you start resting in the truth that you are the ultimate power, the ultimate force in the universe. You are, I've said this phrase before and it scares the hell out of people, you are God. And what belongs to the universe, what you are part of, is rightfully and soulfully yours. And when you work from this place, because it's all about identity, and for years I've taught subconscious transformation and transforming the 3D container. Now I'm moving to transcendence work. And what we want to do is you're still going to have an identity, but your identity is that of consciousness, not the limited human identity. And recognize this. You're not alone in this, okay? You're not. And I know that you might have heard this before. I remember as a kid, I grew up in a Christian household. I am not Christian. I'm a spiritualist. And I remember this poem. I don't know the exact wording, but I remember it as a kid. My mom had it up on the wall. And it was this, I think it's called Footprints in the Sand. And the whole parable is that we are not alone, meaning we walk with Jesus in this parable. We walk with God. And this person was saying in the parable that they were very, very ill or sick or whatever it was. And they were saying, Jesus, why did you leave me? And Jesus said, I never left you. And the person, I think in the parable said, but why are there only one set of footprints in the sand? And Jesus said in the parable, that's when I was carrying you. Think about that. Soul, consciousness, which would be the scientific aspect and approach to it, It's carrying you right now. Every breath you're taking is soulfulness and consciousness carrying you. If it can carry you through taking a breath, don't you think it can figure out a taxi ride or an Uber ride or a home or a plane fare or a partner or money? So you can call it whatever you want to call it. Like I said, you can call it God, you can call it whatever feels true for you, but that other set of footprints in the sand, it's there. It's been there. It has always been there. And it's waiting for you to stop shutting the door and for you to start opening your consciousness and living from the identity of you are first soul and mind before you are the 3D identity. I don't mean to be repetitive, but your transformational takeaway is to just sit and connect. I want to point something else out here. We have been conditioned to be a species of we've got to do to create. So this may be, a little bit alien for some of you guys. And it may not make sense because you're thinking, Jim, there's no freaking way. I got to do something. And even if I sit for 3 minutes, what do I have to do so I can measure progress? Again, already the wrong approach because that's shutting the door because you're in your analytical 3D container mind, shutting the door on direct line, direct connection, like the red phone, hot phone, bat phone, whatever you want to call it, to divine essence, mind, and source. Okay, if you've listened for any amount of time, you know that I rarely ask you to share, but I'm asking you if you find value in these episodes, please share them with other people so that we can reach together and we can help more people. And if you would please, I'm very grateful. Some of you have been doing it. Go to iTunes and leave me a 5-star review. Anything less than that really will not help me. And when you help me reach more people and we make it a better world for all of us. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you over on another episode.